Greetings, everyone. I'm here because I want to have a conversation with you with regards to some thoughts that I have. I want to talk about this book that I love. Um, it's it's such a beautiful book, and if you read it, please let me know. But it's called Women Who Run with Wolves by Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and this book, I don't even know where to begin about what this book means to me. But before I get into that, I want to show you. This is my original copy of the book. This is how much I love this book. I would never have my books out here looking like this because I love books. I get annoyed, right, by shit like this. But this book has been with me through some shit. It's been with me for a minute. And this type of book, this book actually, by the way, this is my take it on vacation, take it in my purse, take it to the pool. This is that book. And this book I had to buy because this book is going in my library, my personal library. That's how much I love this book that I had to have a mint copy that doesn't leave the house. So this is my special one. But this book, this is the one that's been through some shit, as I have been through some shit. I love this book. I haven't actually read the entire book. I am deep into this book, but I'm not finished. And the reason why is because this book is so special. It's not the sort of book that you're going to sit and you're going to read through it and be done with it. And if you are able to do that, I mean, it's not an easy read, but if you're able to read it like that, I don't think that you're really understanding the purpose of this book, because this book it's medicine. And this book in itself is built for people who are actually doing the work. You doing the work on yourself, you're doing the shadow work, you're doing the introspection, then this is the book for you. And so for me personally, I read it in dosages. And what I do is when my spirit tells me to go and open it up, I read. And I stop when my spirit tells me it's enough. You need time to process what you're reading. Clarissa is a student of Jung. She's certified under Jung's way of teaching in 1984. She got her PhD in 81. And so her way is a psychoanalytical way, which is my way of psychology. I'm a psych major, but I tend to gravitate more towards psychoanalysis. My personal belief is that everybody is traumatized. We're all walking around with trauma. And because of that, because of Western medicine and the separation between the soul and the spirit and the psyche and the body, Western medicine doesn't really cater to that type of training, to that type of modality, or the integration of those different aspects of the self, which they all correlate. That's my personal belief. And so something that I wanted to get into with regards to that, to Clarissa and this book in particular, is she built a lantern for women who've had to learn how to see in the dark. And when I say that her book, this book in particular, when I say that it changed my life, I'm not talking about highlighting a few lines and feeling inspired. Something in me got named when I read that book, as I read this book. But as I opened it and as I traversed through her different paragraphs and her different chapters, because I'm deep in, something in me got named. Something feral. Something ancient. Something I'd been carrying like contraband. The kind of knowing you don't get from polite living. The kind you earn. But here's my theory, and I'm standing on it. If you're called to be a true healer, life initiates you. And it isn't punishment, it's preparation. And it isn't bad luck, it's training. And it's not because the universe is cruel, it's because the universe is exact. In tribal contexts, the shamans, the people who become the medicine people, they're not the ones who want it. They're the ones who get taken by it. They're the ones who get pulled through something that strips them down to the bone and forces the question, are you real? Are you willing? Can you carry what you say you can carry? And in those cultures, there are elders, there's ritual, there's a container, there's structure, there's witness, there's language for what's happening. But in modern Western life, we're out here with fluorescent lights and be productive as a religion. We don't have the village that formally says, now you'll descend. Now you'll lose your skin. Now you'll return. So what happens? The universe becomes the village. Life becomes the elder. Circumstance becomes the ceremony. And the initiation still comes. It just comes wearing different clothes. It comes as the trauma that you experienced in early childhood. It comes as the family that you're born into. It comes as socioeconomic backdrop that you didn't choose for yourself. The grief that rearranges your nervous system. The betrayal that forces you to discover your boundaries. The seasons where it feels like your spirit is in a long, quiet winter and nobody around you even notices. That isn't random. That's curriculum. Because healers who are meant to hold other humans can't be built out of theory alone. You can't become a vessel for other people's suffering if you've never met your own suffering without running. You can't guide anyone through the underworld if you've never learned the terrain. It's like someone with no life experience wanting to be a psychologist. While it may not be impossible, it's dangerously incomplete. Or someone who's never been touched by addiction wanting to counsel addiction purely from textbook. I'm not saying they lack intelligence, but how can they truly understand and relate by lacking the lived compassion that comes from being cracked open? Or a social worker with no people skills, no cultural fluency, no capacity to hold complexity, trying to work inside the human mess? Baby, the work will eat them alive. But people who are called, people who are truly called, life doesn't let them stay untouched. Life does something shamanic to us. And let's say plainly, shamanic initiation is a kind of death. Sometimes literal brush with death, sometimes ego death, sometimes soul death. That hollowed out season where you can't recognize yourself, where everything you used to be sure of stops working, where your old identity doesn't fit and the new one just hasn't arrived yet. That's the dark night of the soul. That's the I don't know who I am, but I know who I can't be anymore chapter. That's Carl Jung's Nigredo, the blackening, the descent, the breakdown before the breakthrough. The alchemical phase where the psyche is basically saying we're burning the false parts. The part that people love to romanticize but rarely respect is this. In the initiation, you don't just suffer, you're being tested. And the test is the retrieval. In many shamanic traditions, the initiate becomes ill, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, overwhelmed. There's destabilization. The initiate becomes haunted, and it's not because they're weak. It's because the psyche is being cracked open. The old self is literally dying. Your nervous system is being rewired. The person is being taken apart so something older and truer can be put back together. And somewhere in that dismantling, they lose something, whether it's innocence, certainty, safety, identity, belonging. And that's when the initiation demands, go get yourself. Not the ego self, not the persona, not the good girl, the strong one, the perfect one, the numb one, the hard one, the I don't need anybody one. The real self, the soul self, the wild one, the original one. They have to retrieve themselves through death because the person who comes out isn't the same person who went in. She's the one who survived the underworld and learned its language. She's the one who can sit with another person's chaos and not flinch. Not because she's cold, but because she's been tempered. That tempering, that's vessel making. And this is where Clarissa Pinkola Estes is so deadly in the best way. She takes that Jungian depth psychology, the whole idea of symbols, archetypes, the psyche's mythic architecture, and she puts it back into women's hands like a stolen heirloom, returned to the rightful owner. She says your soul speaks in story. She says your instincts aren't a problem, they're your compass. She reminds us that the wild woman isn't a trend, she's an archetype. An inner authority, a deep pattern of wholeness that colonization, patriarchy, trauma, and be-nice culture tried to domesticate. And when you've lived a life that initiated you, when you've been forged through by fire, in circumstance, by survival, by motherhood, by grief, by having to rebuild yourself from scratch, a book like hers doesn't feel like self-help. It feels like recognition. It feels like, oh, there I am. It feels like I'm not crazy. I'm ancient. I didn't have that village. The village found me through books. That is real. That is how spirit moves in a modern world. Because when you don't have elders in the flesh, spirit will send you elders in ink. It will slide a book into your hands at the exact time your psyche is ready to metabolize it. It will lead you to authors, philosophers, mystics, clinicians, poets. And it isn't entertainment. These are initiators. And as you build your relationship with spirit, you will come to internalize why this information came across your path in the first place. You'll feel it intuitively. You'll know it'll resonate with you on a deeper level that this person came to teach you something, to actually give you something of soul value, not just inform you. They shape you. They become mirrors. They become doors. And Clarissa is absolutely that kind of door. She's also a Jungian daughter in the best sense, not in a rigid academic way, but in a lineage way. The psyche as symbolic, the unconscious as intelligent, the story as medicine, the wound as doorway, the shadow as sacred material. Me personally, I've been drawn to psychoanalytic thought since I was a small child. My mom, who was a single mother, she would leave me home alone, and in curiosity, I used to pick up her books that she had lying around the house. One of them was a psychology textbook. That simple curiosity, go pick that book up, go read it. That was evidence of my design. And not just me reading through the textbook, but me actually understanding the concepts at 9 years old. Reading psychology textbooks was not random. That was a calling expressing itself early. The mind that wants to understand the mind. It started with me wanting to understand myself. Who am I? The traumatized child who wasn't satisfied with surface explanations or being labeled. The child who needed to know why people do what they do. Why does pain repeat itself? Why does love get tangled? Why does trauma bend reality? That's the little healer sniffing out the toolkit before she even had the words for what she is. The universe doesn't initiate everyone like this. It initiates the ones it intends to use. Not use as in exploit. Use as in purposeful placement. Like a blade being forged. Like a midwife being trained. Like a priestess being tempered. Because you don't become a real vessel for other people's healing by staying comfortable. You become a vessel by learning how to hold heat without spilling, by learning how to sit with contradiction, by learning how to walk through your own darkness and still choose integrity, by learning how to transmute. That's alchemy. That's medicine work. That's the real thing. And you know what? The community played its role too. The people you did have access to, the ones who forged you through fire, the ones who challenged you, mirrored you, corrected you, tested you. Those people were part of the initiation too. Some were mentors, some were antagonists, some were catalysts, some were all. But all of them, in their own way, were part of the shaping. So when I speak about becoming who I am now, as a woman who can hold complexity, who can move between worlds, the spiritual, psychological, instinct and intellect, myth and reality. It's not confidence, it's earned authority. And woman who run with wolves becomes the language that finally lets me articulate it. That the dark night wasn't the end. That the breakdown wasn't failure. That the exile wasn't meaningless. That the underworld had a purpose. That my survival wasn't just survival. It was training. The healer archetype isn't a trend. The call to healing others isn't a vibe. It's a responsibility. And the responsibility requires initiation. And in a world without formal ceremonies, life becomes the ceremony. And if you aren't meant to carry medicine, then the universe will make sure that you are not fragile, not hard, not numb, not cruel, but fortified, tempered, deepened, real. Be mindful of the universe sending you mirrors through mentors and initiators in many ways, from lovers to foes to passerbys. For me, it was through life experiences, through curiosity that led me one way or another. And in hindsight, I thought it was curiosity, but I now know that it was my higher self and my spirits telling me to look here, research this, pay attention to that. I've always been a reader. Even today, I don't watch much television, never have. Books have given me life. Books like Clarissa's are more than just literature. They're gateways. They're the village arriving in disguise.